Presented by Tim Daly Ford, part of the Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. Here comes an offensive lineman from the University of Utah, Paul Maile, to join Darryl Funk and Kalani Sitake in Provo. So, Jarom, how does the addition of Paul Maile solidify the current status of the BYU offensive line, who have had a lot of departures through graduation or the draft and certainly the transfer portal?
Yeah, let's talk about who left. So Blake Freeland's going to be day 1 or 2 tackle that's gone. Clark Barrington over to Baylor. Harris LaChance going in the NFL. Campbell Barrington went to Baylor. Those are some big names lost. So 4 of the top probably 6 or 7 linemen on the team. So that's tough. But Kingsley Suamatia was the right tackle. He'll probably move to left tackle. Connor Pay was the top graded center, or second best graded center in the country, which is pretty awesome in pass blocking specifically. Paul Maile comes in. The battle for who's the center there will be pretty interesting. I'd imagine that whoever isn't that guy could be obviously the backup or perhaps a guard. We'll see. Waylon Lapuahu comes in from Utah State, who started all 12 games. Of course, Ului punched his way through Boise State a few years ago. We like Lapuahu's.
Nice.
Braden Keim is a backup tackle that figures to perhaps play prominently. Lisala Tai, they really like.
He's going to be a star.
Yes. Sione Vekoso, unfortunately, was going to be in the mix here. Tragedy in December, he passed away. Just want to always acknowledge that he was going to be part of this group. Ian Fitzgerald transfers in from Missouri State.
Yeah.
Remember, that's a team that almost beat Arkansas on the road. So he played well.
He was the highest graded offensive lineman on Missouri State's squad, for what it's worth.
I would hope so. I don't want to bring in the 5th graded guy from Missouri State. I want the top guy. And then there are other guys in the mix, but those are kind of the big names that could make this offensive line pretty stinking good. Now, will they be as good as this last year? I don't think there's any way. The top pass blocking team in the country, the 12th best run blocking team in the country, that was a really special group.
That's a lot to ask.
They don't have to be that group. They just need to be good. Now, I brought this up before. Walking into the 09 season, BYU had lost 4 of 5 starters and played Oklahoma in game 1. And we thought, oh, man, there's no way BYU is going to be able to run the ball. Harvey Young is out for that game. Oh, they showed up. So I expect this group to show up because Kingsley Suamatia is going to be an NFL pick. Connor Pay, super highly drafted, graded. Paul Maile is the starting center on a Rose Bowl team, a Power 5 champ.
Yeah.
That experience, that desire to be on BYU's team for whatever reason, which we'll find out in about 15 minutes when he comes in.
He's a 3-star.
He's great.
Yeah, he's a 3-star coming out of high school, but he's been at a Power 5 program and started there, so he feels like a 4-star.
He feels like a 4-star.
Yeah.
Braden Keim has waited his time. Lisala Tai has waited his time. Ian Fitzgerald wants to be a part of this. So I'm excited about that group, and given how good BYU was last year and what they did, and obviously Jaron Hall gets the ball out, he doesn't turn it over, that helps. I'm excited about that particular group of 6 or 7 guys, not to mention some return missionaries and other guys who've been on the team who want a shot as well, who we haven't brought up.
We haven't brought up the greatest mullet on the team, which belongs to Tyler Little, who was on the defensive line at one point last year.
Is he an offensive lineman again? I don't know.
Does he come back?
Yeah.
It's a lot to ask this offensive line, having lost so much for all of the reasons that we stated earlier, to come back and be the top-rated pass-blocking line in the country.
Like if they're top 30, it'd be like, nice.
Yeah. Oh, and be number 12 in run blocking as well. But I do think, and I'm glad that you brought up the number 30 because that's the number I was looking at. I think this group can be a top 30 position group. For sure. They bring back enough. Kingsley Suamatia is a legit 5-star. Like, we think he's going to be a 1st or 2nd round draft pick. And if you ask Aaron Roderick, he performed to that level and then some last year. Connor Pay has been, in a lot of ways, the quarterback of the offensive line. I know that a few games he lost his starting position to Joe Tukuafu.
It was just 1 game, Spence.
Okay, so for whatever reason,
1 game, whatever.
We heard the coaches say, well, Joe earned it. Okay, Connor was mad. We know that. We don't know much else beside that, but Connor earned it back. Yeah. And he's coming back for another go in the Big 12. And that's the other element here. This offensive line is now going to face 10 Power 5 opponents and 9 Big 12 opponents.
No BYU team has ever done this.
So how will that impact the pass blocking grade and the run blocking grade? You would think, just by nature of more difficult competition week in and week out, that'll drop a little bit. But I still think this group, there's enough collective experience there and enough star power, pun intended, that they can put together a top 30 group. Like, if I just say Kingsley Suamatia, Connor Pay, Braden Keim, and then mention Paul Maile,
yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, that's a top 30 group.
And continue to develop some of these other guys. What if Ian Fitzgerald comes in and he's amazing? Waylon Lapuaho. These are.
What if Lasala Tai is like, whoa?
Yes. Listen, O-line is interesting. More than any other position, maybe quarterback, Spence, it takes like 2.5 years just to crack the two deep sometimes, because you're putting on weight, you're understanding the playbook, you're working on that quickness and agility. Like, what's your arm reach? Are you a tackle or are you a guard? Like, at the next level, they just make tackles guards. Like, but in college, you can get a 6'2" guy like Paul Maile. He's a center, right? But then you get like a 6'6" guy like Kingsley, and obviously he's a dominant tackle. And BYU was so good last year at left tackle with Blake Freeland that a 5-star didn't play that position.
Wild.
He played right tackle. Right tackle is the second best tackle on the team. Left tackle, obviously, the blind side made famously, for a right-handed quarterback, is your number one spot. If you have a lefty, you want the right tackle to be your best typically. But this is an exciting group. And are they going to be as good as last year? No. But can they be good to very good? I'm confident they will be.
And we're going to talk to Paul Maile and ask him specifically, okay, what are you expecting to do? Have they talked to you about whether or not you're going to play center? Are you going to shift over to guard?
I want to know why he came here in the first place.
Absolutely.
Like, Utah is a playoff contending team. Like, why did he leave that situation to come down here? I'm stoked. I couldn't be more excited.
Yes. Strictly from a star standpoint, if I just said, okay, Suamataia, Pei, Maile, that feels like a 5-star and 2 4-stars, and they have experience. All of them have experience.
That's great.
That anchors the offensive line. So I'm feeling pretty good about it.
If I'm Keaton Slovis, I'm super happy.
Absolutely.
And maybe he knows Paul from his time in the Pac-12, right? So we'll see. Okay, topic 2. Now that we have Paul Maile in here on this January 18th, the year of our Lord 2023, which offensive position group are you most confident in right now?
I had to think a while about this because I feel like there are wild cards in each position group. We just went through the offensive line. Like, that's pretty solid, but there are still some question marks, right? Yeah. So there's certainly a core of experience there, around 3 or 4 positions, but there's some openings there. And the running backs position, we think we know what the A-Train Aiden Robbins is going to be, right? We think. And we feel pretty good about Keaton Slovis. But again, it's all like all these new pieces through the transfer portal got to come together. The one position group that I feel like the core has been here and is still here are the pass catchers. So I'm most confident in this moment, January 18th, in the wide receivers. And let's throw in Isaac Rex as a pass catcher at tight end as well. You've got proven commodities that have been in the offense with Aaron Roderick. So just based on experience alone, and Cody Epps and Keanu Hill and Isaac Rex, Chase Roberts, all those names made big plays, made big catches, have had big moments in big games. And so I feel most confident in that group. The question there is, what are you going to do about depth? Like, what is BYU going to add to help bolster the depth of that wide receiver and that pass-catching group? Because they need something there. If one of those guys goes down, now we're kind of scratching our heads like, oh, no, who steps up?
That's where Braden Cosper leaving hurts.
Yeah, and I understand. He's been through a lot. He's had so many injuries. Yeah. I understand why he's
I just thought he was starting to ascend, and so I was like, oh, sure, you're going to be one of the dudes.
He had his best season last season.
Yes, I thought his best season was going to be this next season. But for whatever reason, he chose to step away.
I'm going with the pass catchers. The offensive line, again, we need a few more pieces. Quarterbacks, running back, we'll see how that all develops. They've got to learn a new offense. They've all got to gel together. For me, it's the pass catchers. What about you?
It's clearly wide receivers specifically. And if you group in the tight ends, yeah, totally. Not to mention Jackson Bowers, the tight end.
Fantastic.
Like the top 300 ESPN guy. BYU does not get a lot of those. It feels like one every couple years. Hoping BYU gets at least one every year, starting in the Big 12. Yeah, that's awesome. Running back will be interesting because there's a few guys in the wait-and-see category. Like, we know what Connor Pay is. We know what Kingsley Suamataia is. We know what Paul Maile is at this level, right? We believe that Aiden Robbins is going to be a baller. We hope he's equal to or better than what Chris Brooks was last year and hopefully healthy the whole year. Because if Chris Brooks is healthy, he's probably a 1,000-yard guy. Yeah. Keaton Slovis is an interesting one. And I agree with you. But let's talk about quarterbacks for a sec. Keaton Slovis' 2019 version at BYU would be pretty stinking good. Now, it's been a minute, but he finally gets a more than capable offensive coordinator. We love the way Aaron Roderick has run the offense. BYU's been pretty good the last couple years, producing NFL draft picks and back-to-back quarterbacks. Like, if if I'm Keaton, yeah, that's why I came here, because John Beck says, go there.
Yeah.
Look at what A-Rod has done with these guys.
And he's throwing to proven commodities.
Yes, and he's got a solid, good offensive line in the last couple of years that will have produced 2 left tackles in the NFL draft, which is pretty good as well. And Brady Christian. Like, think about what BYU is doing, by the way. Once Jaron and Blake are drafted, you can say back-to-back quarterbacks, back-to-back left tackles. And we're now talking, Spence, was it you or Dave? I can't remember. Shep brought up, I can't remember, like 4 NFL running backs in a row.
Wild.
If things go well for
Yes,
Chris.
we have discussed that recently.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, this is, BYU's taking an upward trajectory at running back, which is exciting. This has never really been a place where we've said, yeah, NFL running backs come here.
Skill positions.
You look back in the history of BYU, they don't do anything in the NFL. Like, and it's been a bummer, right? Like, Luke Staley was unbelievable. Like, cup of coffee, post him in the NFL, which was tough with the injuries, right? Lake Himuli was amazing, some time with the Bears, but didn't make a huge splash, right? We're excited about what Tyler and Jamal and Tyson Williams is hanging in there on rosters. Like, that's good enough, let alone 1,000 yards from 2 guys. This is incredible. So quarterbacks, Keaton obviously has the potential, the trajectory to be amazing. Like, didn't work out at Pitt because Mark Whipple, the guy that got Kenny Pickett to be the only quarterback taken in last year's first round, former UMass coach, the BYU face, by the way, he left. And so it wasn't the same group. So the continuity of A-Rod and what BYU's been doing the last couple of years, exciting. We hope that Jake Retzloff is a baller as well. And the hope is that he redshirts, that he plays 4 games or fewer, and that he can compete to be the guy the next year, and that BYU brings in more Power 5-like guys and continues to develop. Cade Fennegan and Ryder Burton and so on and so forth. Bolje Mayava, like, who knows,
He might move positions altogether.
Like if you said, hey, Soldier, you're a safety, like that athleticism right now?
I'd take him as a safety, absolutely.
I would, because his arm's not the starting Big 12 arm that BYU needs, but he is very athletic, and there's a spot for him somewhere. But quarterback's interesting to me, too. But receiver is and a little bit of O-line, is the only real position where we can say, okay, we know what we've got with at least 3 guys.
Yes.
Like a certain percentage of that group. We know what we have with Keaton, we think, but it's been a minute since he's had a very productive year.
He's got to learn the offense. The receivers have been in the offense, right? I'm
confident that a fourth-year guy like Keaton can learn this offense. He's here in the spring. So is, right now, rather. Jake Retzloff is in school as well. They'll both be here. Spring ball will be really entertaining because almost nothing is more entertaining than a quarterback conversation. And it's not a battle per se. I think we can confidently say, like, Keaton's going to walk in as a starter, and we go from there. But Jake needs to be ready. Cade and Ryder need to be ready. You never know. BYU is going to play one of the physically toughest schedules it's ever played. I think there have been some years where BYU played like 7 Power 5s plus Boise State and so on and so forth, where it was stacked and there were 4 right up front, and it was hard. This year, BYU can somewhat ease into it physically with Sam Houston, who's a talented FCS team becoming FBS, FCS in Southern Utah,
yes,
Arkansas, and then we don't know when the bye week is, but I'm hoping it's after the 3rd week in the Big 12.
Okay.
That way you can go half and half. Just,
okay.
Oh my gosh, 3 games. Here we go. And hopefully you can get a nice start there with 2-1 or something and feel like, okay, we're in the mix here. We're going well.
Listen, I can't wait to find out the Big 12 schedule on August 1st. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be incredible. Yes. You want to know what the wide receiver group is at BYU? It's your favorite lunch at your go-to spot. So
which is Noodles and Company,
yes,
Penny Rosa with Parmesan crusted chicken breast. That is my favorite.
And you add a side salad.
And I go, yes, I do, Caesar. Chase Roberts, a little Keanu Hill.
That is what the wide receiver group is.
And the tight, I like the it's cheating a little, but I'm cool with it. Right? The pass catchers,
You want to like branch out occasionally, but it's like,
not really.
No, I'm gonna do this. I feel the most confident in this.
I love learning things, but I don't want to learn what other foods I like that much.
Give him the penne roast and the side salad.
It's so good.
Question of the day.
With Parmesan cheese, by the way.
Is this, which BYU football offensive position group are you most confident in right now? What's your penne rosa group? At @N_Crowley19 on Twitter says, depth-wise, it has to be quarterback.
Okay.
3 guys that have started Division I games and the best JUCO quarterback out of California in the portal. But I feel most confident in the wide receivers. Kibo, Chase on the case, and Cody have all shown they can be elite.
Hold on, QB that started D1 games. Just
Bolje Mayava.
Keaton and Bolje has the one.
Yes.
But that's it, right? It's just 2?
Is it just 2?
Because Cade hasn't played. Oh,
Well,
sorry,
Cade- no, no,
Boise
Cade-
State.
Cade
Boise
started
State.
Boise
No,
State,
you're
yeah,
right.
three.
Okay, you're right. Thank you.
This is right.
Thank you. No, wanted to understand.
Hashtag BYUSN to join the conversation.
So, but 2 of them, they're like 1 game.
It still counts.
It does count.